Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, this is Stacy over at the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. And welcome back to season 4 of our Stranger Things podcast. We're well into season 4 now at this point. This is what, like our 3rd episode of season 4 for the podcast. So we're rolling right along and we're excited to be here and to chat about the next episode of season 4. But before we get into that, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Just kind of been chilling out. I know that by now, you know, this is old hat, but Joe Keery, he released the Crux Deluxe. I like how that rolls off the tongue. Rhymes, so I really like it. And it was basically like a prequel to the album, and it was really cool. It was that cover art, but at night, and had kind of like edgier, darker songs and stuff, kind of a different sound that he usually does. So really excited about his new music. That was a really fun treat this year. We've been spoiled.
What are your initial favorites?
Let me see. I'm probably gonna butcher all of them, but let's
I know
look.
there's some weird names.
Mr. Monbig?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
that one's a banger for sure.
That one's a banger.
Did you think of like, you know that song Fireflies by like Owl City or whatever?
I make myself believe. Yep.
That is like the only thing I thought of when I was listening to that song.
It had that kind of jingle to it.
Right?
See, you have an ear for this stuff. I liked Purgatory Silver Star. And
cool
I really
lyrics in that one.
Right? And I really liked Awake, too. That was really good. What about you?
Yeah, Awake. Definitely. I think that's my favorite from the album. And that one came out like before the rest of the album came out.
Yeah.
And then I really like Thich Nhat Hanh, which do you remember we talked about that because I struggled with the name previously because at the con Joe talked about reading that like Eastern philosophers stuff. Like he talked about like how he was one of his favorite authors or whatever. So, and I have like a couple of his books. So, but the vibe of that song is like very Trevor Hall.
Adorable.
Like who is my like other artist that I like loved. So it's just very like chill. I feel like I could like put it on a yoga playlist. Like it's like kind of meditative and like it's just like I don't know, it's like very personal to me because the fact that Joe put out a song that sounds like that and is very like calming to my brain, I was like, this is just like my world's like colliding. So that was really cool. So those are the last 2 songs on the album that I would say are definitely my favorites. And I liked Carry the Name also.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Yeah. But those were my like initial kind of faves, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
I'm kind of excited to see if he might perform any of that.
Super hoping for Awake.
Awake would be lit live.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm putting out there. So keep Egg. Don't get rid of Egg.
Don't get rid of Egg. Don't get rid of Figure You Out.
Yeah.
Don't dare.
Also, you can play Awake.
You can play Awake.
I think Love, what is it called? Love Can't Break the Spell. That would be good live, too. New Joe music. That was a surprise for sure this week. And
you got to see actually another Stranger Things castmate perform some music this weekend.
I did. I went to see Finn in Baltimore on Friday night. So when you're listening to this, it'll be like a couple weeks ago. But that was a super fun show and really cool to like just see him in front of me in person. Kind of like I got to see Sadie when I saw her Broadway show. So I had a lot of fun at that show and it was a cool vibe and the openers were really cool and they're actually opening for Post Animal when I see some of the Post Animal solo shows in like November too. So yeah, that was awesome and a good time and my first of like many concerts this fall. So
you're concert girly. Yeah. I love it.
Gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be great. You're gonna be lit.
Yeah.
But I am really excited because this weekend I kind of had a lazy weekend, but yesterday I was watching this episode and I forgot what a banger it is.
It's a good episode. I think this is like strong words here, but I think I might like it more than the first episode because the first episode we talked about how it's, so hard to watch at some points, and this one too was still very dark, but like I liked that like the characters were coming together more because like, Mike gets there and is with Will and Ellen, even though there's like stuff that happens, like at least they're all together, which you get to see their like relationships. And then I love like Max going to Dustin and then them going to Robin and Steve, like, and that whole little crew that kind of joins up. So like, and then the end, which we'll get to, is like, one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. So yeah, like I loved this episode and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Radio signal sound.
Maybe I'll keep that in. So, chapter 2, Vecna's Curse. And it starts with a flashback of Joyce watching Hopper die, or so she thought. And then you have like a cut to black and we see what actually happened. So this is what kind of got cut out of, us seeing this at the end of season 3, which you said that they didn't film this, right? Which was a mistake because
I guess David Harbour, and it's, guys, I only like clock this because, the effects work and the prosthetics are amazing, but I went to school for this kind of stuff. And I guess David Harbour, he was like, well, I told them, I was like, guys, like I gained a lot of weight for the 3rd season and I'm going to be losing the weight. And he goes, we should shoot this now, because they already told him ahead of time, like, you're surviving, And if you were anybody with a cliffhanger at the post-credit scene, unless your name was Stacy, you knew the American was Hop. But I guess they were like, no, we can't. And they filmed it during 2020 when he had lost all the weight. So they did prosthetics trying to make him look like he had a fuller face. And right away, I'm
you can tell it's so
bothers
bad.
me. And so many people are like, well, maybe the fall made him all, puffy and stuff. And I'm like, okay. Sure.
But he actually runs and he jumps. And so we see like the rubble of the big machine, the key, and then we see like the crack of the gate. But then like down below, we see Hopper's body. And this was the first time I noticed this, but he was laying on the ground and he was laying there suspiciously like someone else is laying on the ground later in this season.
Remember they compared that person to the green
M&M?
Yeah. Now that's all I'm going to see.
I know.
Damn
I'm
it.
sorry. But he's like sprawled on the ground and his legs are out at that same angle. And I'm like, this is weird.
Without getting too into it, like Owen's reinforcements came rather quickly. Okay. Did they just do a really shitty job sweeping the place, I guess?
I guess so. Because he was down there and I feel like maybe nobody looked as far down as he was, because then later, which we'll get to, he like climbs up a ladder and that's when people find him. And I think that was like maybe after all of the Americans were out of there because he was unconscious for a while. That's like the time frame that I kind of like had in my head, but I have no idea. So but he opens his eyes and you can see that he's breathing, and then you get the credits.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
But we open after the credits to Max snapping awake, and I clocked the Endless Summer poster.
Yep, she still has it up, even in her trailer. She brought it from her old room in
I did love that
house, yeah.
And I love the seashell lampshade, and she gets up and looks like she like was awoken from a nightmare.
Yeah.
And she gets up and she gets some aspirin and she, drinks some water from the kitchen sink. She looks out and she hears sirens and that dog barking. And when she like looks out, she sees 3 Hawkins police cruisers hauling ass down the road, and they have the sirens are wailing, and they pull up to the Munson trailer, which is across from her, and Max's mother, Susan, she's a little hungover. She's looking a little
Like me
Rode
today.
hard.
No, I'm just
Ro-
kidding.
She looks a little like us after a few buzzballs, maybe. And she says, that Munson boy, up to no good again, which I'm like, Susan,
Fuck off.
you married Neil. Like,
Yeah.
glass houses.
No room to talk.
Yeah, like, girl, have another Miller Lite. We're being assholes. But
I know. Poor Susan. She's
poor
depressed.
Susan, you've been through it. But I love that Callahan and now Chief Powell step out of one of the cruisers and they meet Wayne Munson, Eddie's uncle, who was mentioned the episode before, who probably just arrived home from his shift at the plant.
Yeah. His night shift. And they go into the trailer. They see Chrissy. You don't really get like a close-up of Chrissy, but they're taking photos and collecting evidence. And she's just kind of laying there on the ground in her
Which
uniform.
flies? All right. I mean, I don't know much about decomposing bodies, but like flies already?
I know. That was something. Yeah.
That was a choice, but I like that Wayne's shaking. Like, imagine you've worked all night, you worked a double, and you're just like, oh man, all I want to do is sleep in my little cot in the living room, and there's a dead, twisted up cheerleader on the floor.
Yeah, awful. And I mean, she looked disgusting because you do see her later in the episode because he calls kind of like reinforcements, like the FBI or government or
Yeah.
somebody. But like you hear the people at the lab listening in when Chief Powell calls for reinforcements. So like I think that like they sent their people instead of whoever he was like trying to get. I don't know how that whole like
Yeah,
went
because
down.
at first I'm like, maybe the state police, and then like a lieutenant shows up from the military, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
Max does get a glimpse of,
The
Chrissy
uniform, yeah.
and the pretzel, and, and one of the cops is like, you stay away. And I'm like, well, maybe, block the area. And also, Max, put on pants, girlfriend.
Maybe she had
Girl.
really shorts on under that t-shirt.
Okay. She was pantless. But I love the sound effect of the plane landing
Mhm.
and the footage of it landing. And I'm like, man, if that had been us landing at that airport, you would have just heard all applause.
Claps.
Yep.
Clap when you land. Joe Keery was on that plane, clapping when he lands.
Big time.
But Mike's plane lands in California, and Elle and Will are very excited to see him.
They are.
Mike brought her flowers, which was kind of sweet. Like, and he rambles about how there's maybe too much yellow. I don't know.
And let's just say, girlfriend looks at the card from Mike.
Oh, yeah. What was she disappointed about?
I think maybe what was on the card. We'll get to it, but
That word,
girlfriend,
that
like,
one little word that she's
that
really
one little
obsessed
word,
with. Yeah.
And she just she recovers quickly. But I do love Mike's outfit because it's either what him or Karen Wheeler thought like was hip to wear, and wearing the sunglasses indoors. Choices.
Oh, yeah. But Will, this is so
Oh,
painful
girl.
to watch.
That was painful.
He brings the painting, for one,
Goes in for a hug.
goes in for a hug and gets kind of like an awkward tap on the shoulder.
Megan, if you ever did that to me, I would cause a scene. I'd go, so we're not hugging? And you'd be like, we never hug. And I'm like, so we're not like, I'd have to take a break to pretzel time.
Yeah.
So speaking of pretzels, but yeah. And then he asks like, what's that? Because he sees the poster tube. And what does he say?
Just some painting I've been working on. But he doesn't like hand it to him. But he fucking brought it to the airport. So of course he brought it for Mike.
Fucking working on it in
Yeah.
the lobby. And I noticed Jonathan kind of clocks that. Like,
yeah. Jonathan
as-
sees a lot in this episode. Like,
yeah.
poor thing.
And when I do love Argyle, him introducing himself and
I've heard a
Yeah.
lot about your sister.
just the silence that follows and him calling him out on having knockoff, Pacific Sun shit.
Yeah.
But then I love them taking off, and Elle has mapped out their whole day.
Starting with
and-
breakfast burritos, which I'm so jealous about. I love a breakfast burrito.
I would be like, I just got off a plane.
No. California breakfast burritos, Stacy. Come on.
I'd be like, can we stop at a pharmacy first? I need some Pepto-Bismol.
But then the plan is to go to the skating rink, which what is it called,
Girl.
Stacy?
I was gagged. Literally, I have been calling it, guys, for 3 years, Rinko-Rama. Where's that? Instead, she goes, Rinko-Mania. And I go, wait a second. And I then look, because I have those skates, and I look at the box and it says Rinko-Mania. And I go, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm just making up businesses. And I love that I mentioned it in the group chat, and literally they were like, well, your name is kind of cooler. And I'm like, what? Mind blown. So many truths were revealed this
So many
episode.
truths. Yep.
But I like that she goes, oh, it's awesome. You know, they're skating and games. And he goes, oh, are your friends going to meet us there? And I feel like the Duffers were burnt at one point by somebody named Stacy, some bitch named Stacy.
Must have been. They don't like that name.
Because, girl, apparently there's an asshole named Stacy in Hawkins, one in Methuen, and then one in California. And right away she goes, oh,
Don't dox yourself.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. But right away goes, oh, yeah, my friends Stacy and Angela. And Will is like, Stacy and Angela. And I love that she hits him with her bouquet.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. And basically gets him to shut up and goes, oh, no, you'll meet them later. I want today to be about us, which I'm like, quick recovery.
Can we talk about, I know it doesn't show up until later when you like see it on the recording of the like video camera, but also we know what day it is.
I'll address it later.
What are your thoughts?
I
want to
think
know
they
your
just-
thoughts.
I think they just messed up because I don't like how Will behaves in this episode, and I will mention it. He starts getting pissy.
Yeah, you know what
And
though? If it was my fucking birthday, I would
if
act
it-
like that too.
Girl, if it was his birthday and they pull the 16 candles and they fucking forgot his birthday, you fucking give all the sass you want, Mr. Byers. You go for it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'd be pissed too. But if it wasn't, like, sorry, I was like, he's my man. So, like, I don't know. It's just like, man, there's some drama
There
going
is
on.
some drama. Yeah. So
Which-
we're talking about how in season 2, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
When they do mention Will's birthday and it's March 22nd, which is what day it is today in the show. So was it Will's birthday? Did the Duffers forget? Did Will or Elle and Mike forget? I don't know.
But I love that they just miss
Murray. Was he on the same flight as Mike? That was my other question.
Probably.
He must
Mike
have been.
didn't notice.
Yeah.
And what kills me though is when he gets into the taxi, the way he shouts at that driver.
I know.
I go, I'm sorry, you haven't even shut your door yet. And I'm like, I would make the worst cab driver because literally and when he goes like, this is life or death, I would literally turn the engine off and cross my arms, but start the fare. And I'm like, so when
And
I saw
You're giving Will shit for being petty? Come on.
oh, girl, literally. And then when I saw him struggling later on in the episode, getting his own luggage out, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
prick.
Yeah.
So Murray has arrived.
But we cut to one of our favorite places in all of Hawkins, Indiana, Family Video.
Yep.
Robin is kind of talking about her little interaction with Vicky at the basketball game and like talking about how Vicky laughed at her joke. And Steve's like, of course she laughed. It was my Muppet joke, Robin.
And I like that, like, and I know we've touched upon this before, but I know that this season got a little criticism because Robin wasn't a lot like herself in season 3. And we've discussed before, our theory at least is that her guard was up. That she didn't really know Steve. She kind of was judging a book by its cover. He was a popular ex-jock, that didn't know she existed. So she her defense mechanism when she first started working with him was that dry, sarcastic humor. And now that they're best friends and they're carpooling and they're really close and stuff, and she clearly revealed something very private about herself, she's showing herself and she's being more comfortable. And we've even said it could be she's on the spectrum, but she clearly is like a bundle of nerves. She rambles, she spirals and stuff. And you can kind of tell like Steve's kind of used to this. And she even says that she starts overthinking and she can't stop talking and her words get carried away. And she's like, just like what I'm doing right now. And I love a video store. I had many memories of the video stores, both chain and privately owned growing up. And I did like all the posters and stuff. There were posters such as Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Man with the Red Shoe, European Vacation, Freddy's Revenge, Beverly Hills Cop. But the poster that they both lean against when they talk about combining and how hopeless they are, it's The Last Dragon, which came out in 1985. So it was really cool, like spotting all those different things. And I think there's a Weird Science poster. But I do love that they have their little ritual of morning movie.
Right. So they're going to watch Dr. Zhivago, which I have never seen.
I haven't either. It features, because she says she's bonkers hot, Julie Christie. Julie Christie was a popular actress in the 70s, and she dated Warren Beatty, who was like a heartthrob in the 70s. And they appeared in like 3 or 4 different movies, but she's known for like being in Heaven Can Wait, Shampoo, McKay and Mrs. Miller and stuff. But her and Warren Beatty, they were like the, Taylor Swift
couple, yeah.
What's the football player, Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
They were the it couple of the 70s. So she's got good taste. And she also kind of back in her heyday kind of was her dress, like her style was kind of like Robin.
Oh,
so,
interesting. Very cool. But also there's very cool like camera work in this scene. I feel like the way it kind of like follows them as they like move around the store and kind of stays on them is very cool. But when she's going to put the movie on, they actually see that the news is on, and I guess they're the first ones to see it on the news, because we watch a whole bunch of people kind of find out about this on the news, but this is the first time we're seeing it, and they say that they found the body of a Hawkins High School student. And yeah, they look pretty shocked and concerned, obviously.
Big time.
Benny's.
Familiar location.
I've actually been there, including the bathroom.
We've been in the bathroom, and what we see inside is live footage of Megan the day after we drink BuzzBalls.
Poor Lucas. So I guess the basketball team has kind of converted Benny's into like a party space, and they're all recovering. Lucas is having a hard time in the bathroom. And Jason tells him that the first hangover always feels like you're going to split in 2. Poor guy. It's a little foreshadowing.
Yeah.
A little morbid foreshadowing. But they're also watching the news because it's apparently on every channel, even though Jason's like, I thought we were watching Thundercats.
And do you love that they have electricity?
Yeah.
And like a little
cereal. Yeah.
I'm like, man, these kids like don't know what it's like to struggle partying in a field.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And I love people all scattered around, passed out. But I never noticed this before, because now I watch stuff with subtitles on. But Andy, that asshole, he makes this little like joke going, oh, maybe Chrissy didn't, stand you up because it's footage of the high school student. And Jason's like, do they know who it is? And Patrick goes, hey, man, that's not funny. And you hear sirens and Jason gets up, but you can faintly hear Andy say another asshole remark going, it's from the trailer park. It's probably some junkie ODing on heroin. And Patrick like snaps going, oh, so that makes it funnier. And he goes, what's your deal this morning? So he's a little cranky. Maybe he's not getting a lot of sleep because something's bothering him.
That's a good catch. I did hear that little exchange as well, but I didn't like put 2 and 2 together because Patrick is later revealed to have some kind of issues as well. But the police get there. They pull up outside, and he's looking out the windows with the curtains that are still there at that place, because I saw them with my eyes. Anyway, it's like an actual restaurant, like, so. Nancy and her newspaper crew are also watching the news.
What a bunch of nerds. Like, I know they have to publish the paper or the yearbook, whatever the hell they're doing.
But it's like Saturday morning. Have they even gone to bed? She's wearing the same thing, isn't she?
It's the Saturday morning. I think it's different. It's the
Okay.
Saturday morning of spring break. I'm like, nobody really cares, guys.
Yeah.
But instead
especially now.
yeah. And instead they're all watching the news footage, and what does like Nancy think of when she hears about that?
There's a woman on the news, they're like interviewing her, and she's like, ever since that girl Barb died, this town has just been crazy or whatever. I don't remember the exact words she says, but Nancy kind of has those flashbacks to Barb, which we're kind of like also just having flashbacks because it's not like Nancy saw that happen to Barb, but we see that like Nancy's.
Girl, you're getting railed.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't see that happen.
We see that Nancy is thinking we see Barb and are led to believe that Nancy is also thinking of Barb, I guess. But Nancy asks Freddie, if he's up for a field trip, and they leave the school together. And
I like the next shot.
Yeah, super cool shot of the trailer park, and it's like upside down from above, like one of my favorite shots, I think, in season 4. Has lots of really cool shots like that.
They're loading up the body bag.
So they cut to that. They're loading the body bag. And then Dustin is also watching the news with his mom.
I love that his mom's like, my heart can't take it. She's petting her cat.
Yeah. Muse 2. Is that Muse 2?
I think it's Muse 2.
Yeah.
I love
Max shows up at the door.
And I love how shocked, like, Dustin kind of is, because clearly she's probably pulled away a little bit. And what does she kind of like inform him later on in his bedroom?
Well, she's telling Dustin about Eddie and Chrissy. And like Dustin is adamant that Eddie did not do it, but Max is basically just telling him what she saw. And I love them. Max is like, well, they said Ted Bundy was a super nice guy too.
You're comparing Eddie to Ted Bundy? And she's like, you know.
But Max is saying that we can't really presume anything. So I do appreciate that, like, Max wanted to come to Dustin so that they could investigate this before she told the cops that she saw Eddie with her.
Yeah, because he even asks her, he goes, why haven't you gone to the cops yet? And that's when she kind of like, you can tell something's been on her mind. She sits down and she goes, something else happened last night. And it flashes back to the night before when she's feeding that poor goddamn dog. Who does that dog belong to?
I know.
And she, first sees them arrive and them go into the trailer. And then later on, she's sitting by her mom and she's watching TV, and the TV kind of goes out, and then the lights flicker, and you hear Eddie's shriek of a scream all the way from over there.
Yep.
And she looks at the window, and he books it and drives away like his ass is on fire. And she's like, yeah, power goes out all the time. He drives like a maniac, but I saw his face. He was scared.
Yeah. So they decide to try to find Eddie because he's the only one that can tell them what really happened. And they leave despite Dustin's mom's protests.
Typical 80s. Like, we'll be super safe. Bye. Love you.
Yeah. Back in California, Murray's struggling with his bags, like you said, as he arrives at Joyce's house. And they sit down together and they read this like ransom note, like Hop is alive, and they have all the details. But Murray's kind of talking about how he doesn't trust it. Like, they could have tortured Hop and
could be the KGB.
Actually, yeah, and they were saying there's no proof of life. But Joyce is like, yes, there is, because only 2 people knew about our date at Enzo's, him and I.
Which, was that really the guard's name or just like a fake name he was
using? It's a fake name. It's not his name. His name is
like, what are the chances? Yeah.
His name is Alexei.
No, it's not. That's the Slurpee.
No, not Alexei. Dimitri. It's Dimitri.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot.
Dimitri.
I'm like, what are the chances? Hop really lucked out. Okay, that makes man, have I even watched the show before? Jesus.
But she's like, no, it's definitely Hop because they signed it Enzo, and she's like, I didn't see a body. But like,
he's like, that's because he evaporated. She goes, no.
And he says it could be like the KGB. Maybe they're trying to like capture Joyce as well, which it's interesting because you do see like the next couple scenes, they are trying to get information about Joyce.
Yeah,
so you're
they're
like,
very interested about her.
Oh, like maybe they are trying to capture Joyce as well through this, and it's like a ruse. So at first, like the first time you watch it, you're not really sure. Like, I love like kind of thinking back to like how I might have felt the first time I watched it, because it's definitely a different experience for sure.
Yeah. Well, Murray says like we're gonna call the number, but we're gonna do it my way, and he has a ton of like suitcases, so God knows.
Who knows?
Then we do a flashback, and like I said, The timeline's a little hazy of when this happened, but it's apparently long after Owen and the world's worst SWAT team swept the place. Cut to like guard Stacy. Did you check everywhere? And I'm like, yeah, affirmative. Like, you're good, man. Hop's laying like 15 feet down out of my eye line. But he goes up and basically off the magical platform, and he sees a bunch of Russian guards who somehow are still there, and they knock him out with their rifle. And then they like string him up, which like at this point you're like, where exactly are you? Like, are you at a new location? Are you in Russia? And they start like beating the shit out of him. And like you said, they're questioning about Joyce. They're showing photographs from the security cameras. And he's like, why don't you tell me she was in a Russian uniform? And he won't speak. And they decide to get out the elephant. Megan?
It's really hard to watch this scene.
I would not have made it. The elephant would have killed me.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like they put that gas mask thing on, and then they cut off his air, and they're asking him like, do you want to die for this woman? And it's like kind of powerful because I feel like Hopper would die for her. Like,
that's low, guys. I would sell probably almost anybody out. I'd be like,
yeah, he's just like writhing around, and it's really hard to watch.
I would pull a Steve and I'd give the full address. I'd be like, this is it. This is their location.
Yeah, like Dustin Henderson with his address.
Yeah, great hair, like a fro. But we see, then we cut to present day again. Argyle's van rolls on up to
Rinko Mania.
That's going to haunt me the rest of my life. And I think Jonathan maybe sensed something was kind of off, but instead of kind of addressing it, he just tells them we'll be by at 6, and he's like, we'll have fun, because those two are already booking it inside, and he's like, okay.
He looks thrilled.
And they decide to go off and get high and hit golf balls. But set to You Spin Me Round by Dead or Alive, we see another, and we've addressed this before, what a great 1980s location, the skating rink.
It's awesome. But Will calls Elle out.
First of all, I'm sorry, Mike, you were going to skate barefoot? That's as bad as going into bowling shoes barefoot.
Yeah.
You animal.
Yeah.
So when he's off buying socks, which I'm like, ugh, he gets like, Will becomes Polly Pissy Pants and calls her out on her bullshit, which, side note, I did like the prosthetic scar on her leg where Jonathan cut her leg to get that little piece of mind flare out. Like that you could see that.
Yeah. But then they do get out on the rink.
Okay, and not to keep stopping you, but when Will is like going like, Mike's going to be mad when he finds out you're lying. But then when he goes, she goes, I have been here before for a party. And he goes, for Mom's work, a bunch of at-home encyclopedia salespeople at a skating rink?
Yeah.
Okay, choices. That must have been lit.
I do love how he called her Mom and not like my mom, like as if like they're siblings.
They're fighting like siblings.
They're fighting like siblings. Like it's cute. I think it's cute. But they're out on the rink, and we see that Angela and her friends show up, which
told you spring break was gonna be fun. I'm like, and it's said to Rock Me Amadeus, and I'm like, that is the smirk of the devil. Like, that is unhinged bullshit. So something's
they're
gonna
not
happen.
good. They're not good people. I don't like this next scene because Powell and Callahan, like, you're questioning Jason and you basically fucking tell him what happened and what you think happened.
It gave me basically the same vibe how they handled questioning Nancy when Barb went missing, just how kind of like gross they were being. They, first of all, due to his emotional reaction, the way they break the news of Chrissy's death is awful. Then they give the suspect's name before even being taken in. And his emotional reaction when he pieces 2 and 2 together after they reveal, like, oh, have you ever seen Chrissy with Eddie? And then when he puts 2 and 2 together that Chrissy was killed, he literally marches out and screams. And they're like, all right, we're going to leave him alone now. We're not going to escort him home.
Right.
No wonder this town fell apart.
They handled that so badly. Like, that's like some terrible police work there.
Awful.
But that scream, Jason's scream, is pretty intense. And I remember, like, when I first saw that, I was like, is he like being controlled by something like Billy because it was such a like inhuman like scream. Like I just remember being like, ooh, this man, something's going on with him.
He's going through it.
Yeah. But Max and Dustin show up at Family Video, which
They do.
you'll be proud of me. I noticed Freddy Krueger by the
Good girl.
door.
Good old part 2.
Yeah. But they're just like so chaotic and I love it. And they're like, Dustin's like jumping over the counter. They're asking how many phones they have. They're not really explaining anything. Dustin just starts getting on the computer and like, I love Steve and Robin. Like, do you want to strangle him or should I?
Do you love how butthurt Steve gets when Eddie's mentioned? He's like, oh, your new older friend that, you think
it's
is
cooler than me because he plays your stupid game. And Dustin's like, I never said that. But
Aw.
Dustin basically is like to Max, like, can you just fill them in?
Fill him in. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like Max and Robin kind of look at each other. But we cut to Fred and Nancy talking about their game plan, and they kind of talk about Jonathan a little bit.
She slips up a little bit, venting
yeah.
a bit,
Yeah.
that stuff's on her mind. She's a little worried.
Because I guess she was sort of they were sort of, thinking about how Jonathan was like her like sidekick when she would investigate stuff in the past. So it's like Jonathan's not here sort of thing. But they tell the cop that they're like checking on Max. They're like her nannies.
Good job, Fred.
But then Fred has this like vision, which you see and you kind of connect to like what was happening with Chrissy, I guess. I'm not sure if I did the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
But he is talking to the cop, and this cop who later you find out his name's Glenn. I clocked that.
Oh, look at you, girl.
He sort of turns into a monster. He's like, I know you, like you killed that kid. And Fred was like, it was just an accident. And
His scar starts bleeding.
yeah, it's like gross.
And just the music that starts playing, it almost sounded like it was very Dream Warriors-esque. It sounded like this creepy, like, music box almost. And he's like, you're a murderer. I'm like, damn.
yeah. And then he kind of like snaps out of it, I guess. And the cop is like, are you okay?
You look a little peaked, which I'm like, who says?
Yeah. And Nancy's like, what was that? So you don't really know like what, like, was he zoned out? Like, I don't know what he looked like when that was like happening in his head. Like,
Yeah.
Stacey just did an impression of what she thinks
Mouth
he looked like.
wide open. Yep.
But yeah, you said something about this like activity here. Looks pretty fun.
So when in doubt, just smoke a little purple palm tree delight and hit golf balls into what looks like a junkyard. And Argyle and Jonathan are kind of having a bit of a vent session. And I did think it was really sweet when Jonathan's like, can I show you something, but you can't tell anybody? And he's like, who am I going to tell? You're my only friend. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And basically Jonathan, like you can tell him and Nancy due to the long distance, they're like two ships passing in the night. And he confesses he has no plans to follow her to the East Coast. He's planning on going to community college on the West Coast where Argyle's going because he doesn't want to leave Joyce and Will behind. And he's like, I don't want to follow somebody else's dream, which is a good point. And he goes, and I'm not telling her yet because she'll just insist on coming here, giving up her dream. And like my parents, it'll just be resentment. And,
He like spirals a little bit. Yeah.
Argyle's like, your nightmare cycle. And he's like, what's your plan? Like, a slow breakup with Nancy, and at first Jonathan says yes, and he almost expected her to be on the plane with her.
Yeah.
Like, Jonathan, fuck.
Yeah.
And like, but Nancy was kind of expecting the same. So it was going back and forth. And what does Argyle do? He's like, you know what you need to do? You need to smoke a little purple palm tree delight. And like Jonathan books it in. And I love that he goes, man, stressing me out. He's not even my girlfriend. So
I know. They're
he's a good
so
friend.
funny. Yeah, it's definitely a good friend. Their friendship is hilarious. But this is my favorite song at the skating rink. I love this Tarzan boy.
Fun fact, guys, I do love, so last year at the con, Megan was going to post the photo of us with Kiri, and she goes, what song should I send it to? And we all know I love me some Phil Collins, Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. It was set to every photo that weekend. And I just look at her and I go, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling some Phil Collins. Megan told me to F off. And then she thankfully picked what would have been my second choice.
Yeah.
And it's such a banger. And people are just skating and they're enjoying. Will looks like he's sampling some cotton candy. And Mike and Elle are having milkshakes.
Yeah, and I guess Elle's is chocolate, we find out later, and Mike's telling her that his is better. But
had to be cookies and cream then.
They are our least favorite people in the world. Come
It's
over
Angela and the Turd Crew.
and confront Elle. And first they kind of like kind of introduce themselves to Mike, like, where have you been? Like,
and then like Elle gets caught in her lie because Mike's like, oh, I was waiting to meet some of Elle's friends. And she's like, come on, friend. Like, it's unhinged.
It is so painful to watch this whole scene because basically they're trying to get back at her for like snitching for the teacher. But like, I mean, Angela, you fucking did that shit. Like,
you smashed Mr. Probably, you bitch.
Right. So they take her out on the skating rink and the DJ is involved. And like,
the DJ was the real villain. You were a full grown man.
The DJ is awful.
This is a business establishment. You're literally taunting a girl that might, be having something going on with her at the moment. And literally, like, Will clocks the camcorder and he's like, oh no. And that's when he spills the beans to Mike. Something's going on. Elle hasn't been honest with you. She's been having a lot of problems this year. And Wipeout starts to play.
Yeah, so they're surrounding her. They're doing like the little hand motion, like imitating her at the school. And Mike actually clocks that the DJ is like instigating this with the music. So he tries to go over and like tell the DJ.
Hear you, man. That's that man's job. Like, and I know people like criticize Mike instead of like protecting Elle. I think he was just so frantic wanting to stop the music. And well, guess what, Megan? The music does stop. And what happens?
It does stop. And the DJ yells, Wipeout. And they throw the milkshake on her.
And she falls on her ass.
It's bad.
And I'm sorry.
And they catch it all on camcorder, which shows the date.
Whoops. Which humiliating because the score gets really sad and like Elle's all stained chocolate and she's crying and everyone's laughing. And Angela, what a turd. She's like, no food or drink on the rink. I'd be like, that's the best you can do. And Mike acts like he's stuck in quicksand because he can't get to her in time.
Oh my God.
She slowly skates off. And I'm like, this is a mess. Where's the adult supervision? But it was the 80s. So
yeah. It's bad. It's so heartbreaking. I guess we go back to Joyce and Murray, who decide to call the number. And they end up talking to Enzo. So it's this Russian guy who answers the phone in a phone booth. And where does he ask him to get this $40,000 from, Stacey?
Guys, last night I'm watching it. I probably watched this episode, I'm not even exaggerating, 60 plus times. When Megan mentioned in our first rewatch of episode 1, I'm like, what trust for Elle? You're full of shit. You're wrong. Stacey Still, much like Steve's effing sunroof, much like Jordan Lake and Lover's Lake being different, much like Hopper not being the American, much like Chuck not being Tom or Bruce.
Wait, did you notice Chuck in this episode?
That's my redemption, okay? We'll get to it. I was like, yeah, one for the good guys. But I was wrong. Hopper actually had his finances in check, and that was really sweet that even long before, the Russians invaded fucking
he
Hawkins,
had put money in a trust for Elle.
which I'm like, sorry, Elle, you're not going to college, but we're going to save your surrogate dad. And I like, it's very chaotic, this whole phone call, because right away she's like, I'm going to need proof of life. And he's like, that's not possible. Your friend is stuck. You get me the money, $40K. I can make him unstuck. And he says, go to Yuri's Fish and Fly
in Nome, Alaska.
Have you been?
No, but it's like, Balto?
Yeah, of
like that
course.
whole thing, like the Iditarod, like that's the town, Nome, Alaska, where the people were sick and they had to get the medicine to
Oh my
Nome. And
God.
so like the Iditarod race that they still do that kind of emulates that, like that dog sled run to Nome, like that's why I know where Nome is. Because I literally was just in Alaska like learning about the Iditarod at like a husky like a sled dog camp. Like,
This winter, guys, we're going to do a photo shoot of Megan just, with her hood up on her sled with Leia, just,
going to Nome, Alaska.
going up to
Yuri's
Alaska.
Fish and Fry.
Goodbye. So he basically says, go in 2 days and you hear a woman, and we see on his end, he's in a phone booth on the most depressing street ever in Russia, and she's banging, talking in Russian to him, and we see Murray, like, he's recording this, obviously, and him and Joyce are kind of looking confused, and the phone call ends, and right away, they look at each other, and Joyce is like, well, that wasn't KGB, and they're like, but who was it?
Yeah, they're like, it wasn't a friend either, because like a friend wouldn't be like bribing them for $40,000, right? So it's like they're trying to figure it out. But then you kind of cut to the Russians again, and they've like tortured Hopper so much that I guess they're just like, all right, I guess you're strong. Like, go be big and strong for our motherland, and like send him to Kamchatka, which the one guy says to the other guy, like, oh, I didn't never know you to be like soft or like forgiving, or I forget what word they used, but he's like, no, like I'm sending him to a fate worse than death, basically.
Not good.
Yes.
We cut to a chopper. At first, I thought it might have been Millie Bobby Brown, but no, it wasn't. And it lands, and it's a lieutenant colonel who is getting welcomed by soldiers, and we're kind of like sliced back and forth. Callahan and Powell were super professional and left a very distressed Jason with all his teammates, and they're back inside of Benny's. They're having like a powwow, and he shows a yearbook photo, probably from the previous year, of the Hellfire Club. And Lucas is there, and right away he's like, this is, Eddie Munson's cult, demon, devil-worshipping, cult. And they start like, Andy, of course, talks out of his ass, being like, oh, yeah, and it's all satanic panic. They're like, yeah, I heard they do blood sacrifices. And Jason says, as this lieutenant colonel is shown, basically the more
Chrissy, yeah.
we see quick flashes, and let's just say she does not look good.
No, she doesn't.
And he says that Chrissy's parents weren't even allowed to view her body, which, is that even legal?
I mean, I wouldn't have wanted them to see it either, but it's a little disturbing. But I love Lucas just trying to speak up and
He
being
tries.
like, this isn't a cult. Like, Hellfire's not a cult. It's just a fantasy game. It's D&D.
And it gets real tense for a minute because they're like, how do you know so much? And he thinks fast because he knows that these people are unhinged and stupid. And he goes, my little sister, she plays. And Jason's like, no, we know your sister's not worshiping Satan. But, I heard that this game can
The
possess
wrong kind
your
of
mind.
person. Yeah. And he's like, I think Eddie was the wrong kind of person. And yeah, then Psycho Killer starts playing.
Which, if you're Stacy, growing up, I used to think the song was called Psycho Chicken. It was so goddamn embarrassing finding out years ago that it's Psycho Killer. I was in college, and I remember Jeanette going, no, it's Psycho Killer. And I'm like, was I listening to the Sesame Street version? What the fuck was that? So
Kids Bop version.
I guess so, but I did like the transition of, like, of course, it's like a mini version of what he pulls later on with the town hall, but he gets all the teammates going, we're going to do it for Chrissy, we're going to hunt and find Eddie. And they're all like, shouting and being assholes. And Lucas is like, oh, fuck. And Jason takes his lighter and burns like Eddie's photograph. And as the burning page swipes out, we go back to family video and what's going on.
I think I just realized why I like this episode so much, because these are literally my 4 favorite characters in the show. So like Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Max are my 4 favorite.
Agreed.
Like, so to have them working together and have such a cool dynamic is like why I like this episode so much. But they're all sort of making phone calls. So they're all on the phone. Robin's on the phone Steve is not on the phone. But they're looking for Eddie while Steve is like, trying to help a customer, suggesting Dr. Zhivago.
And I love when he knows she has a boyfriend. He walks her to the door, and then he's like, "See you later, alligator."
And he looks so like distraught and like so dejected. Like,
Oh, Steve,
another
what a
one
man.
strikes the dust.
Yeah.
But Max ends up, somebody tells her on the phone about Reefer Rick. So
He's sort of a legend.
Yeah, he's sort of a legend. Nobody knows his last name or where he lives, but they have the great idea to look up all of the Ricks in the system and what movies they have rented. The
Which-
scene is fantastic.
This kills me. First, I love how Steve is like, maybe the cops will know where Rick lives.
Oh, yeah.
Dustin's
Steve,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like, is Steve really? And I do love Maya Hawke's brother in the background playing an extra.
Yep.
And what I really like is the blooper of them going, "That's a lot of Ricks." And Maya Hawke, when she showed her character poster for season 4, her like caption is, "That's a lot of Ricks." And it's so good. But I love that they like go through a few different ones, and it's like, all John Hughes or Disney movies, and they're like, "Oh, definitely not a stereotypical dope dealer." And then they get to Rick Lipton, and he has all the Cheech and Chong movies and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm like, okay. And right away they're like, "Oh, that's out by Lovers Lake, a perfect place to hide." And we get to witness probably them ending their employment because they take it upon themselves to just close early and head out.
Yeah. I mean, Keith, like, you're going to have to just give them the day. Like,
I guess so, man.
but did you love how Nancy actually knocks on the Winnebago in this next scene?
I died.
And you see like the couple that lives in this Winnebago, and they've talked to enough reporters.
They have.
But she decides to go talk to Wayne. She sees him sitting on the picnic table smoking, and as she goes and talks to him, Fred, you see him like start to have like another like vision, I guess.
Here's
and-
chimes.
Yep, and he sort of walks towards the woods. And what do Nancy and Wayne talk about?
Well, she sees him, having a butt by the picnic table. And at first he's a little like guarded, and he's like, "I've talked to enough reporters," which I'm like, she looks 12. Like, and I love that she just yet again impersonates a reporter. She's like, "I work for a very small newspaper."
And she's like, "What gave me away?"
I can't. Could you imagine if she was unmotivated? Like, if she wasn't Nancy Drew? But I like that she kind of gets him to warm up, because at first he's like, "You think my nephew's a killer?" And she mentions that she used to work at the Hawkins Post, and I guess who took over after Tom turned into, goo, was a guy named Chuck.
Yeah,
and he was
so
a total
that's
asshole.
where you got the name Chuck. So
Chuck. There we go.
vindicated.
Guys, you got to see a glimpse of the inside of this twisted puzzle, otherwise known as my brain. And they start talking, and Wayne, I'm sorry, he could moonlight as one of the members of the Midnight Society in Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because he says that even though Eddie looks dangerous, it's not in his nature. He knows he didn't kill that girl, and that the real killer is Victor Creel. And, Nancy's like, "Whoa, who?" Because us as the audience is like, this is the first time we're hearing about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you might be too young to know about that." But he goes, "Back when I was younger, he killed his whole family, cut their eyes out," compares this guy to Michael Myers, and says that he was committed to an asylum, Penhurst, which is mentioned in season 1. And while this is all going on, Freddy's like in a trance, goes into the woods, and sees the same grandfather clock Chrissy saw, but laying on a casket.
Yeah. And then you
Girl.
see this like kind of like horde of like mourners, but they're like zombies, like monsters. And they're like pointing at him and calling him a murderer. So he runs. And Nancy, like, after she stops talking to Wayne, she realizes, or she like says like, I'll be right back, because she realizes Fred is gone.
And also that poor goddamn dog, because I know she stopped to pet it earlier. Who does that dog belong to, goddammit?
Yeah. It's just a
It's the trailer
trailer
park
park dog.
okay?
Yeah. But do you like the next scene? Hopper is getting his head shaved, and I know I saw them talk about this. Like, this was actually him getting his head shaved, like, because they could only do one take. When you shave somebody's head, like, you can't
I'd
You
be like,
can't
make it
do it
count.
twice. Yeah, like
Girl, and then they hose him down like he's in the prison yard. That in the freezing cold, that would have killed me.
yeah, bad. But you see that he's at the prison camp, and basically like the guard is like giving a speech about how
Welcome to hell.
if they run, they die.
Oh, Hop, you are having some shit luck, man.
Yeah.
But back at Joyce's, she keeps rewinding the recording, which she's pretty adorable with her headphones listening. And then she thinks enough to put it through the, like the stereo. And they slow it down. And right away, she's like, you know, what is that woman saying? Translate it. And the girl calls the caller a muso? Musa?
Yeah, something like that.
And I guess he goes, it's like trash or garbage, like slang, like what we'd call like a pig, like a cop or a guard here. And right away she goes, guard. And that's when like the gears started turning, and right away they go, like a prison guard. And right away they go, he's stuck. The guard can get him unstuck. It sounds like Jim to me paying off a guard. Right away she's like, I'm gonna go drain Alice, college account.
Yeah.
And they go,
see ya. I'm getting Hopper back. Back at the skating rink, Mike.
Back at Asshole-O-Rama.
Mike is trying to find Elle and basically fighting with Will some more.
I love that he burst into the ladies' room. Imagine you're like getting a tampon out of the like machine. You just see Mike going like, "Ow! Get out of here!"
But this is like,
this is uncomfortable.
it's very uncomfortable because Will is like, well, you basically like called a couple times. Like Elle has a whole book of letters from you, and Mike's like, well, she's my girlfriend, and Will's like, well, what about us? And he's like, well, we're friends. And
Do you ever see it synced up to the High School Musical 2 scene? It's like the same exact scene.
No, oh my
It's
gosh.
priceless. Check it out.
That's amazing. But Will, it's so heartbreaking because you know how much Will cares about Mike, and Mike is kind of just dismissing him, and Will's like, we used to be best friends. Like,
And just like, I get it, Mike's just being a typical 14-year-old, but he doesn't, like, you can tell he kind of sees that he's hurt, but he won't take ownership. Instead, he goes, well, maybe you should have reached out more. I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell you.
yeah.
It's
And he's like,
painful.
right now I'm just worried about finding out kind of thing. So
And Alice in the employee lounge, just wiping the chocolate off her. And I love that what sets her off when she looks through the blinds and she sees Angela and the Turd Company. They're laughing. And this is what would have set me off. She hears them say, it looks like she shit herself. And the rage that fills her eyes.
it's like, this actually was really impressive. Like, she's crying. She's like very pathetic. But then she like looks through those blinds, and you like see the emotion.
Shitting myself
the
when I
emotion.
didn't shit myself.
But it's like, what is it called? Like the Kubrick stare or something like
Yeah.
that? Like, that's like,
Give that girl an award.
yeah. It was impressive, actually. But
it's like, it's so painful because, like, you just see how innocent her mind is because she storms out. She's got tears coming down her face, and right away they're like, look who it is. And she kind of like says, like, Angela, I want you to say you're sorry. You ruined my day. I want you to tell Mike that we are friends. And it's so painful. And Angela basically is like, go get fucked. And she's like, sorry that you can't go crying to a teacher or crying
this is
to
bad.
your daddy. And I'm sorry, as a member of the Dead Dads Club, we can joke about it. We love dark humor. But if somebody makes that comment, they're getting a skate to the face.
Yeah. And which
Bitch.
she does.
Well deserved, because I love that right away you just see like how stunned she is. They all like are like cackling like assholes. And they walk away, and like just the music gets really intense. And she walks and grabs the skate, which I love the guy going, hey! And she goes, Angela! And just wails it into her face. Like, she didn't, like, girl, that could have killed her. And right away, I love that all the other assholes, the little motley crew, they all get real quiet. Her face starts bleeding and she starts screaming, which I'm like, you're going to need a nose job. And right away, Mike and Will conveniently show up. And as everyone's standing around shocked, Mike says what?
He says, what did you do? So we see the flashback of Brenner in the very beginning of the first episode asking Elle the same question, like, what did you do? So we're meant to sort of connect this like evil in Elle that she is able to like like be so violent with Angela and like think that maybe she did kill all those kids, because we still don't know that it wasn't her in the beginning of that first episode.
I would have ruined this really like powerful moment. I would have turned towards my boyfriend and gone, they accused me of shitting myself. And then we'll cut to the next scene.
But instead we cut to Reefer Ricks. Which I was telling Stacey about this before we started recording, because this was I don't even remember this scene. So they pull up at the house and they're knocking on the door, and
which I'm sorry, the wreath that looks like it's for Halloween should have been a giveaway. He hasn't been home for a while.
So he Dustin's pounding on the door, and then he starts like calling for Eddie, calling for Reefer Rick, and they're like, he's not home. Steve's like, he's not home, and Dustin's like, he could just be really high.
I mean, yeah.
But then Max clocks the boathouse, and so we get to my favorite scene.
It's what birthed study stories. And a gazillion fan fictions.
It's just so emotional and impactful and like powerful and entertaining, like all in one too. Like it's just such a cool scene because they go into this boathouse. Steve calls it a dump because
he did not like that place.
I didn't really think it was that bad. I feel like my dad's shed is probably worse. But there's a boat in the middle with a tarp in it. So they're all looking around, and like Max and Robin see some like food wrappers and beer bottles and stuff. And Steve takes an oar off the wall because he starts like poking at the tarp because he's like, we could be hiding in there. And Dustin's like, well, why don't you just pull the tarp off? And Steve's like, you pull the tarp off. And like as they're like arguing, Eddie, it's like a jump scare.
He pops out like a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, and it's frightening the first time you see it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's definitely a pop out, and he takes Steve against the wall with a broken bottle to his neck, and just like the emotion on both of their faces, like Steve looks so scared and Eddie looks so like emotionally like devastated.
Yeah.
And
he looks like a cornered animal.
Yeah.
He looks terrified. And Steve looks like he just like his balls were left behind because he's like trying not to move. Dustin could literally have a job as a hostage negotiator. The way he's like, Eddie, it's me, Dustin. This is Steve.
We're on your side. Like he like introduces him. He's like, you know Robin from band. And she makes a little trumpet noise. And like, this is Max who never wants to play D&D. And Max like waves. But like, I'm just going to say that like the what are you doing here that's like directed to Steve is just like very emotional. And I mean, we don't usually talk about fan fiction.
It's hot, okay?
But like, it is so easy to imagine that they know each other already before this scene. And Eddie's like, what are you specifically,
What
Steve,
are you
doing here?
My ex-lover.
So.
And I'm sorry, when he drop the oar and he like readjusts like the broken bottle, it's hot. But sorry, calm down, guys. Because we're not doing a secret segment again this episode, so we have to get it out of our system.
Yeah, that was your little steady connection.
That was your taste. But I really like that, you know, how finally, you know, Dustin's like, I swear my mother. And Steve's like, yeah, I swear on Dustin's mother. And they all swear on Dustin's mother.
Poor Claudia.
Poor Claudia. And finally, Eddie backs off, and I love, like, first of all, Steve in the background, you know, really hamming it up with his throat, and Robin checking on him.
That was my favorite part, too.
And then, like, the way Eddie just, like, slides down the wall, and when Dustin tries to take the bottle, he flinches, and, you know, Dustin's like, okay, just, you know, tell us what happened. And I love Joseph Quinn's acting in this, the raw emotion, because he's, like, near tears, and he looks so terrified, and he's like, you won't believe me. And Max is like, try us.
Yep.
We've seen some shit.
Exactly. So we cut back over to Nancy looking for Fred. She goes to this cop, and is basically like, he's like, what are you guys still doing here? And she's like,
Yeah.
well, I can't find my friend. And he goes on the radio. He's like, this is Glenn. We might have a situation. But then you see Fred, and he's like out in the road, and he sees a fiery
Which-
crash.
Do you think he caused that accident? Did he witness it and not report it? Like,
I think he was in an accident and he left the scene.
that's a big no-no, Fred.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no. There's a very similar scene, without spoilers, from A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, actually, of the imagery of, like, a car flipped on fire and a character crawling out. But that really, like, freaks him out. And as he backs up, he falls into a really deep grave. And there's, like, a mummified corpse.
Yeah.
And
It actually
he's stuck.
cuts back and forth a little bit
Yeah.
between this scene and Eddie back in the boathouse too. But like, yeah, like Fred sees this guy trying to crawl out of the crash and falls into a grave, and that's when you see Vecna sort of take Fred.
Imagine that. Like the human equivalent of a California raisin. And he just pulls, like what he did with Chrissy, just right away. What do you want? And
I
he's
want
like,
you
just
to join me,
join me. And he does
Yeah.
the hand thing.
which is
We
very
see-
season 3 with Billy.
Exactly. And he levitates, and you see him do the little Chrissy crumble again. And while that's happening, Dustin's kind of narrating, telling Eddie that, like, you know how you've heard this town is cursed? And right away Eddie's like, do you mean like ghosts and shit? Well, sometimes there's worse things than ghosts. There's another world underneath Hawkins, and sometimes that world bleeds into our world, and there's monsters. And Eddie talks about what happened with Chrissy, and you can tell, like, it really bothered him when he's like, I didn't know what to do, because he, like, goes into detail, and we see quick flashes of how her bones started to snap, and he's near tears, and he's like, and then her eyes got sucked out of her head, and he goes, I didn't know what to do, so I ran and I left her, and you can tell that really bothers him.
Yeah, he
And he's
feels
like-
a lot of guilt about that.
And he says, like, it seemed like, he goes, I couldn't wake her up. It seemed like she was...
like in a trance. And then Dustin says like under a spell, and then Eddie says cursed. So that's when the two of them are kind of like nerding out a little bit, going back and forth.
Steve's like, who the fuck
I
is
love-
Vecna?
I love Steve's face, like, who's Vecna? Kind of like the what's Mordor?
What is Mordor? Yeah.
But
Bunch
yeah,
of
so
nerds.
so Dustin and Eddie sort of name this monster Vecna after their D&D game, and they're like, he's a spellcaster, like
An evil dark wizard.
dark wizard. And then
I
we
feel like
see
that sounds less intimidating.
yeah, we see it makes me think of the wizard in Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
The wizard master. Girl, you loved that.
But yes, we see Vecna in his lair. We see all the tentacles like
Unplug,
detach.
as she likes to say.
Yeah, he gets plugged in.
Stop that.
But we also see sort of like, we don't see the front of the house yet, but we sort of see this like haunted house with all these bats swarming around it.
Right where you're like, the Upside Down has bats?
That was the episode. Loved it. Like, it's so fast paced, and like I said, like good relationships, and like, just story building, and yeah, perfect. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. No
Um,
notes. Well, there were a lot of notes, but
Yes, lots of notes, but all good stuff.
yeah.
So I am excited to continue, going on this deep dive. We've got a marathon here. Like, what is it called when you like have a swimming marathon? I forget.
A swim meet? I'm not athletic. You're asking the wrong person.
Like a triathlon, like part of it is like
Yes.
swimming.
I wear
but-
sweatbands. Yeah.
Because we are not stopping, guys. We are
No.
full speed ahead with these Lovers Lake deep dives
Choo choo.
until
That was my impression of a train.
until we get to the end, because it's gonna back right up to season 5 coming out.
We
So
didn't even do this on purpose. It synced up perfectly.
Yeah.
So full steam ahead, guys.
yeah, so we have no time to rest, no time to take breaks. We're gonna get it done. So just stay tuned and keep listening, and you'll hear lots more for season 4.
Sounds good.
All right, you have any merch that you need to talk about?
Real quick with merch, I was actually at Five Below. I got some Stranger Things playing cards. I have not opened them up yet, but I thought those
Cool.
were pretty cool. And then I got a Demogorgon light. I guess this lights up.
Huh. I love that.
Pretty cool. I went looking for the cake bites, and they are not at my Five Below. And then I went to Walmart to look for the pink waffles, and still no pink waffles.
Bummer.
But we are still looking. There's a ton of cool stuff overseas, mostly food promotional stuff, but we know it is going to start getting cranked out fast and furious. But yeah, just cannot wait. And like I said, Joe released the Crux Deluxe, so pre-ordered all of that cool stuff on physical media. And yeah, just cannot wait to keep collecting.
I know. It's so. I had like a very weird experience because I was in a gas station, a Sheetz, and I like knocked these Doritos off the shelf by accident, and I pick up the bag of Doritos and they like have Stranger Things on them, and I'm like, this is so weird to see this like in the wild. Like I wasn't even looking for them. I didn't buy them, but I was just like, it's just starting. It's going to be everywhere. Like,
remember you showing me how to
crazy.
work the Sheets screen at like 2 a.m?
That
You
was
were
Wawa, but yeah.
You were so dumb with me. You're like, haven't you ever used a touch screen? I'm like, oh, she's traveled with Stacy. She is done.
Yeah, that was Wawa, but I think I did. Did I take you to Sheetz also?
Yeah, you took me to
I think I
all
took you
the
to
cool
all
gas stations.
Royal Farms, Sheetz, and Wawa. It's the trifecta.
Oh, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, so like we mentioned earlier, if you like to tune in for our secret segment, we promise we'll bring it back soon. We just have not been reading a lot, or apparently Stacy has been reading stuff that we're not allowed to talk about. So
No,
I don't
stuff
know
that
about
will
that.
literally keep you guys up at night.
Yeah.
So I'm forbidden, but we will talk about it next week, and we will catch you all up.
Yeah, I guess that's my homework this week to read a little.
I'll send you some real sick, twisted shit. Don't worry.
She says I'm supposed to be reading instead of watching Charlie live on TikTok.
Guys,
But we do
this
with
is
the
why I
brain
drink
ones.
buzz balls. This
We
is why I drink buzz balls.
because you have to put up with me.
Uh-huh. Good trade-off.
Oh, all right.
Ah.
Well, make sure you follow us on social media. Pretty much everywhere, but most active on Instagram at Skull Rock Broadcast. I am at Steady Stories. Stacy is at Stay Still Reviews. And check us out on Patreon. We
Got some cool stuff planned to release probably next weekend.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, we might be putting up those ad-free episodes on Patreon too.
Cool.
Pretty soon. I said October was the goal for that. So we'll get that going. And yeah, just come hang out with us, and we'll be taking you along on like lots of adventures soon too. So actually, I think like when this episode comes out, when this episode comes out and you're listening to this, guys, I will be with Stacy.
Can you imagine that? She's going to meet Sir Quinn in person.
Yeah, so
what a
pumped.
privilege.
So pumped. So we'll have to celebrate a little
Hell
extra
yeah.
special that day.
Balls!
Yeah, find those witch's brew jumbo buzzball potions.
That's my homework. Yep.
And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Over and out.
Over and out.
Peace.